rock legends Queen are, according to Variety magazine, in the process of selling the rights to their entire music back catalogue for a record-breaking $1.27 billion. Sony Music would get the rights to Queen's recorded music, but surviving members Brian May and Roger Taylor would retain revenues from live performances. Well, earlier I caught up with Reilly, who's following the story for Rolling Stone magazine.
So we know that Queen have sold their catalogue of songs to Sony for $1 billion, and that is thought to be the biggest deal of its kind. In contrast, when Bruce Springsteen sold his catalogue 3 years ago, that was for $500 million, which is in itself a staggering sum. But the fact that Queen have sold for $1 billion, I think, kind of speaks to how beloved their songs are, the value of their songs, and yeah. It's quite the fee that they've managed to secure there.
Yeah, more and more artists are doing this, aren't they? Do you know why? Is it down to money?
I think largely, yeah, it probably is. And I think you notice a lot of the artists that sell are perhaps in the twilight years of their career. And I guess it kind of makes sense, both financially, to have one last big payday. And also, I guess, I mean, not to be too morbid about it, but when you've got a catalogue of songs and you've got someone else that has to deal with it, perhaps after you pass away, I wonder that's going to be a kind of tricky thing to navigate. So if you kind of sell it and you know that there's a big sum that's kind of been done, I think it's a very easy and kind of nice way to secure your future and have that one final payday and make things a little less tricky further down the line. I expect that's probably part of it as well.
Now, I was trying to unpick some of the details. It is rather complicated because you have live performances, you have music rights, you have distribution rights. I mean, how is this going to be carved up for Queen?
This is it. The Queen situation is quite peculiar and quite a tricky one because, as you say, they are different facets of it all. They are going to retain the rights and everything like that for their live performances, so they're still going to be making a lot of money there, and let's not forget that they are still prolific tourers. They've been hitting the road with Adam Lambert, who has been their singer, so it's been Brian May and Roger Taylor, and John Deacon, who retired from the band when Freddie Mercury died. He's still involved in the financial side of things, but he isn't touring, but they are still touring, so they're going to make money there. I believe that Disney has a section of rights in perpetuity from when they had carved up a deal with Queen in the 90s. So the actual specifics, I think it's a kind of a tricky one, and no one quite knows how it's going to work with that degree when there is a lot of different players involved. As I said, Disney were involved. But the fact of the matter is that Sony have managed to buy these songs for $1 billion, which is just staggering.
So I take it the money is going to be shared amongst the band members. So we've got Brian May, Roger Taylor, John Deacon. But what do we know about Freddie Mercury's estate?
Yeah, so obviously the estate is largely, I think his sister, who is still alive, is largely heavily involved in the estate. And that's where it will be going. His kind of share, or what would have been the share of the late Freddie Mercury, is going to be going to his estate, and they're going to be looking after that side. Obviously, we don't know the specifics of it, but we know that his share will be going to his estate, yeah.
Do you know what? Music and distribution is that much more complicated now because you've got social media, you've got streaming. Do we know if there are any conditions as to where this music can be distributed, for example?
Again, I'm not entirely sure because the specifics of that deal haven't been revealed. But the distribution world, as you say, especially with a band that is as big as Queen, is very multifaceted, very complicated, and I just know, I think that they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
They certainly are. That was Reilly from Rolling Stone magazine. Well, the BBC has approached the Queen performers, Brian May and Roger Taylor, and so far they've declined to comment on that story.